Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Manny, and we are here for another fantastic episode of Interviews, and I'm with my boy, David Webb of Hamilton. Now, you can do it. You can join me. Listen, it's a party here.
You got
it. There are no rules. We can do whatever we want together, individually.
On the
it's
count
up
of three,
to you.
my name and business?
1, 2, 3.
David Webb of Hamilton Computer Repairs.
Do we get it? I got nervous.
Did.
You made me nervous because
Sorry.
I didn't want to mess up your. This is your business. This is your baby.
It's okay. People can Google it.
That's true. They can Google it. And Hamilton is with one. When M is Hamilton usually with one N.
Yes.
Emma, not M.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like the play. Although technically, I don't know if we were around first. When was Hamilton written?
Ooh, that's a good question. But I know the guy was around way before you.
Yeah, way before. My business has been around since 2012. Hamilton's probably older.
Tell me a little bit about the whole beginning, the birth of Hamilton Computer Repairs.
Okay, so like most things in my life, they're kind of spite-fueled. In the aspect of so the reason I got into computer repairs in the first place was to overcome limitations.
Okay.
Now these days the limitations, as we'll talk about later, are from manufacturers. But at that time it was my dad saying I couldn't use a computer after I think it was like 9 p.m. on school nights. And that was not an unreasonable limitation.
Yeah.
But fuck that. So
right. I hear you.
I met a friend in detention who I'm actually still friends with. And
let me ask you real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but did you have good grades? Okay. Anyway, you met your friend in your detention. I don't want to lose that story. Go ahead.
And I talked to him about advice, and he talked to his best friend who essentially said, just install Linux on it. So I'm trying to install Linux on my computer, which bypasses my dad's security software that locks me out after 9
p.m. And you were how old at this time?
16.
Okay. Oh my God. My son's about to be 15. I'm in trouble soon.
Well, I mean, the first pass, just careful with home computers. Passwords are not actually, anyways, that's a whole other thing. Anyways, so I bypassed that software and I then accidentally erased the drive on my computer, which forced me to reinstall Windows on my laptop, which is now one of the most common things we do for customers. And the story is relevant because at every stage, the reason I've done something differently with computers is really to, get past a limitation from an external source. So the reason I got into this business is because I was doing So I was doing computer repairs out of my backpack for a long while, and then I started doing it at a pawn shop. Because the pawn shop owner, there's a stage before that, which is after working in a bunch of computer repair shops in Worcester, I partnered with someone to open one in the Denholm building, actually, very downtown Worcester.
That's prime real estate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time it was still completely dead, but it was central to everything.
Right. I mean, it's easily accessible.
Yeah.
Well, parking's kind of a bitch, but
right. Yeah, exactly. But I was still going to Quinsig at the time, so I would literally catch the bus. It would drop me off downtown in front, and that was, anyways. That partnership was going downhill. The guy was he wasn't a bad businessman in the sense of not having. He wasn't of low integrity, but he didn't have capital or great customer service. He was a good technician.
Just kind of existing, though.
Yeah, but he was, when it comes, there's a lot of people who are great at what they do, so they start charging money for it, but they don't have the bookkeeping skills, the customer service skills, the any of the other things around. Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's not just, don't worry about it. This is a whole, there's so many books for, anyways. Yeah. But I was ruining my reputation by working with him because he was, taking deposits for repairs and then using it to pay rent because he needed rent money instead of ordering parts, and my reputation was getting harmed by sticking around. So I got an offer from a pawn shop owner to effectively just start working out of there. I would keep half of the repairs. He would pay me a flat fee to do his computers weekly and post his, and that was great. So we, about 6 months into that, he wants me to do busy work. It's the summer, which is the slow season for computer repairs. Everyone's outside. No one's, computers can wait till back to school season at that point. So he wanted me to do busy work and post all of his stuff on Craigslist. I didn't feel like I was being paid enough for busy work, so we were renegotiating, and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go back to working out of my backpack. And he's like, okay, you want to rent my dad's storefront? And so I did. And so that's how I originally got into computer repair, was essentially one, fuck that, I'm not dealing with this bullshit, after another. Word. And are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah. Cool, I mean, good. Are you cool? No, not really. You sure?
Okay, good. Anyways, so it was one after another, and mostly I what it really comes down to is what got me into being a small business owner is authority issues. Now, flash forward to about, at this point, 8 months ago. I don't know. Middle of last year. My 10-year anniversary in business. The 10-year anniversary of our grand opening was June 1st, last year, and 2 months before that, I got non-renewed on my lease. My landlord, it's a whole big thing. I've been ranting about it on my podcast. So you don't get subpoenaed. I'm not going to discuss it here. Mm-hmm. But
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I literally am handing over shit to my lawyer this week. It's miserable, but necessary.
Sorry to hear that.
You know, it's okay. I'm going to get a lot of money from it in the end.
Nice.
But anyways, she non-renewed me at the very, very last moment. And so I had the choice of effectively letting my business. I was planning on selling my business. Opening a gun shop. And so I wasn't
that's like a whole other world.
Yeah, well, that's seriously. When we talked about what do you want to talk about today, that's on the like I've got a whole federal investigation followed by a redemption story that we could talk about on some other. Anyways,
we'll get there.
Yeah, 117 firearms in less than 16 months, and currently no charges anymore. It's all cleared.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a fascinating long story. Anyways, I was going to open a gun shop. I wasn't planning on having a computer repair business right now.
Right.
I wasn't planning on having one in like July of last year. I was in the process of lining up a buyer for mine. I had a friend who had a similar mentality to me. Anyways, the buyer. So I couldn't hand it over to someone because I couldn't. She wasn't willing. Like I essentially either had to find a new place for my business or allow my business to die on its 10-year birthday.
Oh no, we can't do that.
Right. So instead, I as I said, spite fueled, found a new place, a few storefronts down the road. Not a few storefronts, but like 3 blocks down the Park Ave. It's bigger, it's better, and we're building it out. But the real answer to your question, what got me into computer repairs as a business, is the difficulty with computers, the fact that it's you want to upgrade something, you have to know exactly what you're doing, you have to figure this out, you have to be able to get that part. Mm-hmm. It used to be a lot easier. It used to be, that was one of the things I loved about this was anyone with a screwdriver and YouTube could get into this business.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I got my computer back in the 90s. Is when I got my first computer. I can't even remember what kind it was. I know I was on MS-DOS. Do you remember that?
No, I started
How
with.
old are you?
I'm 32. I started with XP.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. Most of my nerd friends started with 98 or DOS.
Yeah, I was in DOS. I was in like 95 is when I first got into computers, and so I was like 11 years old. And it was so easy, and it was like so easy to upgrade. You could do it at home. You could just go buy the disk that you needed, the software, whatever, or if you needed a new motherboard, go to the store, get a motherboard with more.
Yeah, you could upgrade
bells and whistles and just pop that bad boy in and go. Now it's like I'm so afraid to buy a computer because I don't know what I'm getting myself into, and I don't know if I can afford to maintain this computer.
That's exactly where we're going with this. So, have you purchased a protection plan in the past 2 years?
No, so listen, every time I go to Walmart or Best Buy, they say, "Do you want a protection plan?" And I'm like, "For what?" I'm like, I'm not gonna throw my computer across the room.
No, but think about that. For what? Because we're actually going to talk about this.
I just think
one of my main
points.
Yes, why?
He said yes, because chances of me actually using that protection plan are slim, and I've also found from my own experience in the past of trying to get a protection plan because $800 on a phone. I'm poor. You know what I mean? So $800 is a lot. So I'm like, all right, I'll get the protection plan. And my first thought was, if I crack the screen, check this out, right? My charger port went, and they're like, sorry, that's not covered. You need a screen or a battery, we got you. But your charger port, time to get a new phone, buddy.
Yep, protection plans are such bullshit on so many levels. But why did you buy that one? It was an $800 phone.
Yeah, but I was desperate.
No, but
I was under duress.
But you could go get it fixed, right?
That was the intent. Yeah.
No. I mean, no. With the, I'm saying, even if you didn't buy that plan, you could go get it fixed, right?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I would say yes. You could go to like a little phone repair shop, yeah.
But you don't know. I guess where I'm going with is you don't know, and you're not sure. Would you bring it to a phone repair shop, and then if they tell you it's $300 because that's a $220 screen? And then an $80 labor. Are you going to actually consider putting $300 into your phone?
No, I'd probably just buy a new phone.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking about this,
they die so well. They go out of. They fade away so quick. I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for.
What?
outdated. Yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to talk about. So I'm so glad that you're the one who brought that up, because what this really comes down to is it's not a protection plan, it's a protection racket.
Tell me more.
Well, rackets are effectively businesses that
I know what a racket is. Well, I'm very familiar. I've never been part of one, but I'm very familiar with what a racket is.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you buy an iPhone from an Apple store, they're going to try and sell you Apple Care.
Yeah.
And the reason they're going to tell you need Apple Care is because if it breaks.
Yeah, but they're the ones breaking it.
Well, so they're the ones making it easy to break, and they're the ones. They're not the ones breaking it. You're the one breaking it.
No, they are, because they make a phone. Yes, I am the one breaking it, but they're the one helping me to break it. Because you know how many times I've chucked this thing across the room, and not once have I cracked my screen. Samsung Galaxy, by the way, not sponsored, but I'm just saying.
No, so those screens are so much worse, and Samsung.
What do you mean? These are worse?
Samsung is worse than Apple in all the ways Apple is, but they're Android, which means they should be better, and they're not.
I'm attacked.
I will get back to that rant in a moment.
Yeah, okay, let's get back to that, because I need to know.
Yeah, I have so many feelings about Samsung. Anyways, we were talking about protection plans.
Yes.
Racket. What the reason I'm going to with this is because Apple. So one, it's not just Apple. When it comes to right to repair, this is so many different companies. But
Apple's just the most.
Apple's the easiest to use as an example, because if you go to their Apple Care page where they list their Apple Care products, they will advertise that with that is the only way you can get pretty much fast, reliable service. They use different words, but when you think about it, what they have done is they have commoditized the knowledge and access to repair. And this is not an exaggeration. They've restricted it, and now they're commoditizing it. They've restricted it because they don't provide it. You can't buy parts for Apple products from Apple or from any of the people who make Apple parts. You can't get instructions on how to fix anything from Apple or any of the people who fix Apple stuff. And if you like Apple, let's say there's a Max at Work, an authorized repair place in Shrewsbury on Route 20. Yeah. If they were to give me another repair shop any of the schematics that Apple has provided them, they would be susceptible to significant lawsuits. So, in other words,
wouldn't it just be easier then for you to go get the
but then I only have
everything necessary to become an authorized Apple repair?
Sure. So one, then I would have to buy parts from them, which is significantly more expensive than any of my current vendors, which would, of course, increase the cost to consumers.
I heard an argument about that as well.
There's more to this, because, two, I'd only be able to actually then work on... So the big benefit of coming to a shop like me instead of bringing it to Apple is you have a 7-year-old Mac, and we're like, sure, no problem. We'll open it up, figure out what's wrong, and swap the part. Yeah. You bring them one, and they're like, ooh, sorry, that's out of service.
Right.
I'm Apple authorized.
Because they want you to buy the newest product, of course.
Yes. So that's the thing. It's not about corporate greed. It's actually about control. What it really comes down to is they control you don't own your devices. You are leasing it until it dies for the purchase price.
Wait, no.
Okay, but you own your device, and then it dies, and if you aren't currently paying them to support it,
I feel manipulated.
Well, you're a consumer.
I don't like it.
And that's why we need right to repair. So the thing about right to repair, everyone's like, well, what is it? Right to repair is saying to a company, you have to provide the consumers with instruction manuals on how to fix shit. Like, tell people how to open your shit up and sell the parts. That's it. That's literally what this one does. The other one, it's that actual simple.
And what about, I don't know, even know if this matters with the right to repair, but like pricing, because I mean, I can say, fine, I'll sell the parts, and then I'll sell you a part that costs me $5 for $200 because I can do that.
So to answer your question, we have vehicular right to repair in Massachusetts. We got that like 8-ish years ago, and it's still being fought at various levels in lawsuits because what car manufacturers have done is instead of they released the software that was previously proprietary only to dealers. But they've released it at prohibitively expensive prices. So if you wanted to open a mechanics shop, even if you could afford a lift and shop rent, then you also have to afford subscriptions. I think BMW is like, I don't remember what it was, but it was $29. It was like over $20 a day to have access to.
Every car is electronic now.
Yeah. Well, so that's what the whole vehicular right to repair thing was about, was stopping it from being completely limited. So you had to have a subscription to even work on the vehicle. Oh. Which is effectively where we're at with phones. Apple, every iPhone has a proprietary processor that everything runs through. And so what this means is that Apple could, with a software update, render every single phone that has had a third-party screen replacement done useless. And they've demonstrated this because a few years ago, they released a software update, and everyone who had third-party screen replacements done has started getting a pop-up message. Yeah. So that was actually why I ended up leaving Google a few years ago when the Pixel started switching over to proprietary processors. They're doing the same thing, and all companies are. So when I say it's not Apple, they're just leading the way.
Sneaky little way of making those third-party parts not work. That's not nice.
So to some level or another, it makes sense. Like why? Like if you take away the consumer rights and the let's do things for the sake of people aspect from it, this makes perfect sense. Why the fuck would they sell us a device every 6 years when instead they could sell us one every 2 years and then charge us? Because again, protection plans. Mm-hmm. So then we're paying $8 to $13 a month for your device in case anything goes wrong because of their fucking design. Mm-hmm. Plus storage. You have to remember. How often have Apple doesn't make it easy to offload your anything to anywhere. I once had a music teacher who...
that's one thing I love about Samsung. I can offload my stuff all the time, but that's the point. I do offload it all the time, too. It's annoying.
Well, but they, they allow you to. Have you ever tried to get your music out of iTunes into something else?
No.
Well, many people are still with Apple because they tried and found out it was difficult.
I have no idea what it is. We're getting the signals from back there. That's what the big smile was about. We see you, and we got more to go. We're gonna keep coming with. I mean, we're really just touching the very tip of the iceberg here with Right to Repair, and I'm sure you're gonna fill me in with the rest of the iceberg.
I've got a few specific action items for people, as well as where they can find out more, as well as shirts. These shirts are going to be for sale.
So tune into the second part on YouTube and Facebook at Manny J Media, so you can know all you need to know about the Right to Repair Act and how it affects you, how you can get involved. I'm Manny.
And I'm David Webb.
And this is Interviews. We will be right back. Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Manny. You know what I just realized I've been missing? What's up, beautiful world? It's your boy, Manny, and this is Interviews, and I'm with my man, David Webb of Hamilton Computer Repairs here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Look him up. You're everywhere, right? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram. We just reactivated the Hamilton Computer Repairs Instagram page. I've not touched that for about 8 years, but we're about to start using it. You can also friend me on Facebook. If I don't recognize you, I might not, but if we have 30 mutual friends because you live in Worcester and that's how it is, then I'll accept it.
It's such a small town, big city. It's a big city with small town vibes.
It really, really is.
And they're so nosy. Everybody's so nosy. But hey, that's what you get in a small town. We all know each other's business. But no, seriously, go check out his social media if you have any computer, right?
Yeah, we work
it could
on
be
Macs
any
and
electronics?
Windows. Not any electronics. So we specifically do computers. I stay away from phones. I recommend New England Wireless on West Boylston Street in Worcester for phone repairs. Also 911 iPhone repair in Auburn. Both places are great. They keep inventory.
Don't cross promotion.
It's the reason we don't actually do phones is because you have to stay up to date on all of them. Most computers, it might be a slightly different variant, but when we're opening it up, it's gotten worse in the past few years. But for the most part, the components are still the same. Yeah. On phones, it's like a motherboard, a camera, a screen, and a chassis. And anything dies, it's your motherboard. And also, everyone wants their phone back immediately. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the patience for that crap.
Well, yeah. I mean, going a day without your phone is like, it's hard. So I can imagine weeks without your phone. That could be hard.
Our options are either maintaining inventory for every part that we might have a customer walk in the phone in the door with, which means like every variation of Samsung, from the last 3 years in each color. Yeah. Or, ordering it when they bring it in which case anyone's like, what do you mean it's going to be 3 days for you to get my Samsung screen? Mm-hmm. I call it the kiosk factor because even though they're still thinking about cell phones, people walk in expecting to be able to walk out 2 hours later with a replaced screen on their computer. Right. We explain to people we're not, there's in auto business they have CAP, they have advanced auto parts or whatever. They can just call down the street and have a fender delivered.
Right.
we're dealing with warehouses across the country, sometimes out of the country, and we explain that to everyone. We have a great schematic that gives time frames, but we still have to get past the what did I call it? The mall kiosk fact.
And
People
I mean,
expect
a lot
it.
of the time too, these companies aren't making it easy for you to even attain some of the parts or the knowledge. The
Well, so opening things up, we've got pretty solid because those limitations are mostly. I mean, like on things like Surfaces, they're not designed to be opened. You have to take off the screen, and then you can't exactly put it back on. So if someone comes in with a cracked screen on a Surface, we could take it out and then carefully glue it back in. But the fact of the matter is, then that replacement part costs about half the actual machine. So most machines, we can open them, no problem. But then getting the replacement parts is difficult because manufacturers are contractually obligating not the manufacturers, the brand manufacturers like Dell. Let's use Apple as an example because I love hating on Apple, and they're the main problem.
And they got enough money to take it.
Yeah. So Apple is a good example because, often, let's say, you've probably seen a friend who has an Apple MacBook that the only thing is wrong is the screen is dim.
Yeah.
It's not that there's nothing on the screen, but there's something,
Or have you ever seen that line that goes through the screen?
Well, so that's
that's annoying.
That's probably an impact thing. Like that's probably something hit the screen somewhere.
Right.
And that's
like a penny too.
Right. Oh, literally a grain of rice. We've seen
it. Could be anything, yeah.
No. We've literally had a
you've
customer
actually literally seen it.
Literally comes in and they're like, I had a grain of rice on my palm rest. They close their MacBook Pro, big rainbow. It's kind of silly how fragile these things are. Also, while we're on the topic of how fragile they are, cosmetics. Apple has just there is no way they don't have engineers saying we need something that looks pretty and is easily scuffed up.
Yeah.
Because they know their customers are going to get rid of it the moment it looks used. Mm-hmm. And so they use metals that. Yeah.
And that brings us to the great customer retention.
Oh, customer retention.
And all of this is that. It's all about the bottom line, which is that mighty green dollar. And, they don't want to sell us something that, they can only get one sale out of. They got to figure out how to get that money perpetuating, right?
My business model is break fix. And what that means is people break something, we fix it.
Yeah.
Most companies, it does. So a lot of companies that start out as break fix often transition into MSPs, managed service providers, effectively IT companies for hire. Like a office firm who doesn't want to have IT companies in-house outsources to them.
Yeah.
The reason this is important is because the reason all companies switch towards that model is because, as break fix, if I do my job well, we see a customer once every 3 years. That's not really great reoccurring revenue. So the only way we stay in business is by doing this for a lot of people. Most people want more consistent revenue. So what they aim for is what's called reoccurring monthly revenue, RMR. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because Apple, as a hardware manufacturer, is in a RMR business model now with their subscriptions based for Apple Care, their subscriptions for drive storage, and their customers are not going anywhere at this point. They've got customers for life who are just when their device dies, they're going to buy another Apple product.
Right.
So now what they've effectively done is made it so that, their customers are replacing their devices every 1 to 3 years because they're already paying for protection plans. They're already paying for this. They're already, I don't know if you've ever tried to get away from Android. It's not that difficult, but you have to set everything up. Imagine how difficult it is to leave Apple and ask anyone who's ever tried.
I tell you, I don't want to leave Android for the simple fact that it's cheaper. First and foremost, I mean, they're starting to compete though with that price though.
Well, so one of the reasons
because my Galaxy was like $850 when I bought it, and I was like, bro, I mean, it's a little steep. But then my son, of course, the kids always get the better stuff. He got the iPhone, and that was like $1,300. It was pretty much. He got the new one.
Well, so the way they tend to do it is with different tiered options. So they control the market because, they have like $800 iPhones. They're not great, but they're new $800 iPhones.
Right.
And now that's what people are thinking about.
Yeah, but I don't want the $800 iPhone when I'm looking at everybody else with the iPhone 14 out there. And I'm like, I want that. I want the best,
So that's another one of their perceived value things. They gave you tiers and they make the nicer ones look nicer.
Yeah.
So they another one of those things we should talk about when we're in the contrast here, green texts. You know how people rant about that?
Yeah, I get picked on all the time. Okay, green boy. Yeah, I get it.
But they specifically psychologically made people like no one wants to be a green text person if you're currently a blue text person.
As long as the text gets through, who cares what color the bubble is?
You say it doesn't matter, but it does to a lot of people. Like this is.
Do you think that's like a?
There are people who won't date people because they end up texting back in green.
I don't know if I want to date someone who's that shallow.
I agree, but Apple knows this and is capitalizing on it.
You don't even care how I look. You care what my bubble looks like? What?
Well, I mean, it says something.
Wild.
Maybe they associate Android with people who are being cheap. They're like, Apple has branded themselves as the premium, nicer, smart product.
Well, then I don't wanna gold again. I don't need no Apple lady anyway.
I think it's worth noting though that the brand is the identity with it. You know, their most successful ad campaign was the no products. It was just a bunch of people dancing with hip music. You know, they're selling an image, a lifestyle, you're part of this thing. With it was with the AirPods. You know, it was just that, and it was like they made themselves iconic. So, you know, people aren't paying them. You know, Apple used to be you would buy it because it lasted a long time. Yeah. And then Steve Jobs died, and they became innovative with capitalism instead.
Yeah, another word for greedy. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs did it.
Well, no. I actually genuinely mean they were innovative with capitalism. I mean, they started giving school children laptops so that they would start out like this was. I mean, they were deliberate.
Did they really though? Or,
yes.
Or is this conditioning? Is this grooming?
Yes. Either way. No, I mean that's the thing. That's for capitalism. That's a relatively new. Like they were, like it's difficult to leave an ecosystem once you're set up into it. Yeah. So they are actively getting people hooked, for lack of a better phrase, really early. Because once you're familiar with it, you're not going to want to go out of it.
Right. And not only that, when you're giving school kids things, people are more likely to want to come support you in your business.
Oh, well,
you know, because
it's also a huge tax deduction on their end. That's the side no one ever talks about. All of these good Samaritan acts that really end up being for the tax dollars, the tax benefits.
They're mainly for the betterment of the business than they are for the philanthropy of it, right?
Well, yeah. I don't know. There's. Do you know anyone who works for New York Life? I
do.
Okay, so
I want to know where you're going with this because.
Well, I mean, it's a pyramid scheme, but
okay, that's where my mind was at.
But not actually. It's really
kind of schemy.
It's more of a franchise in the aspect of like they're. But it's totally preying on people who want to then prey on their friends.
Right.
And like, you know, step one, target all your people on social media, become a nuisance. Right. Anyways, where I'm going with this, the reason
remind people that they're probably going to die.
Yeah.
Our business makes money off your death.
Yeah. But anyways, where was I going with New York Life? This was relevant. Keeping everything together. What did I just say right before that? New York Life, insurance, scams.
Yeah, I got lost too.
Sorry, this was too many
that's
tangents.
My job, everybody. It's to keep us on track.
Lost my drone of thought. Anyways, it's a big scam. Yeah. And it's there was definitely a relevant thing
Well,
here.
We were talking about, you know, the capitalism of it all and you know, the philanthropy. And
philanthropy. One of the things. So that's so any active, and you'll see this a lot in realtors. They will donate a ton as part of their practice. And the reason, and it's never actually, it's always big, showy, get a lot of people involved, and then donate things. And you know, sometimes they're actually helping, but it's always you know, backpack drive level things where it's more about the community act. I guess what I'm trying to say is always question it when you see the companies donating shit. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of it is they need an image of we give back to our community, so they do.
Right.
But it's really
tugs on our heartings. Makes us want to be more involved with their business.
But when you see
them giving back to our community,
yes, exactly. But when you see financing people do it and realtors know that it is being accounted for as an adjustment on a different line. Like, yes, they are giving away this money, but this money is compensating for how much money they made elsewhere. Right. Like, this is all part of the plan. And like the obnoxious part is this is what they're telling all their customers to do. Mm-hmm. And then they're doing it themselves, but they're not honest with anyone about it. They're like, yeah, we're doing good. Come help our community. Anyways, that's what, you know, really Apple doesn't have to be the bad guy here. There are so a company that's doing things right when it comes to right to repair is Framework. They're creating devices that are that are designed to be upgraded by customers. They're not perfect because, you still really can only buy parts from them. In an ideal perfect world, this would all be modular. But we're not going for an ideal perfect world. We're going for a world where we're not trapped in replacing devices,
Right.
where things aren't going to a landfill because of corporate greed.
But I mean, I still feel trapped because I don't know Framework, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable and confident with iPhone or Samsung to know that I'm getting the best of the best, and if anything happens, I can get it easily repaired, easily replaced. I mean, at least that's what we're led to believe.
But then you try to actually use that replacement plan, and there's any excuse they can use to not honor it. They do.
Right.
Like you mentioned, what was it, DC Jack earlier?
Yeah.
Like all of these contracts have
Or even the screen. It depends on how you dropped it. Like, did you throw it? We can't fix that. You know what I mean?
Right, and they never disclose the extent of any of these when they're always like, do you want a protection plan in case anything happens? Oh, sorry, that's not covered by anything.
Water damage isn't covered, and that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
You could drop your phone in a puddle really
right.
easily, or in the toilet.
No, but
Have
the
you
fact
ever had that
that you
happen?
get these, I haven't, but I've heard about it from so many different people.
I've had it happen.
I've actually dropped my phone. Well, I've dropped my phone so many times. I've cracked one phone somehow. It was my Nexus 5. 7 years ago, and it was like off a bedside table. It was like the smallest drop. It was so upsetting.
Yeah.
I've dropped so many phones so much higher than that.
Yeah. But yeah, you could chuck a phone across the room, nothing happens.
Sometimes. iPhone screens are not like, that was part of what I actually gave Apple a try again a few years ago. The reason I left them was all of the limitations and 5 minutes. Okay. All of the limitations. So I gave them a chance again because they let people choose their own keyboard. They let people choose their default web browser. They let people choose a fuck ton of things that up until like that month they hadn't. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll give you guys a chance. Also, the iPhone 13 mini was the smallest smartphone readily available. I've switched literally to a Motorola Razr because it fits in my pocket. But anyways, the iPhone mini was small enough. I left because it started slowing down after a year. The phone was still glitchy. All of the problems that are supposed to be resolved by being in Apple's protective walled garden of peace of mind weren't actually there. Things used to, I remember 4 years ago, Instagram didn't work on Android, and it did on iPhone. And it was one of the reasons I was like, okay, fine, fuck it, I'll switch. DJI, my drone apps, weren't working on Android. They would on iPhone. And I'm like, you know what, fine. I will give up with being treated like a second, clear tier user because I'm on Android. If companies would actually prioritize their iPhone apps over Android apps because that's where the users with money is.
Yeah. So what do you think about Samsung catching up with the
right,
game?
cool. Okay.
They are catching up.
When you say catching up to
I mean,
what?
I got Instagram now.
Oh, yeah. So companies have started being better, but that reminds me about my Samsung rant and why fuck Samsung.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Originally they had TouchWiz. No, I mean as a company, their products are also gimmicky as fuck, and they release a new one every year, which they could release one really fucking good device every 3 years.
Yeah.
They don't because why the hell would they?
Right.
No companies would, but I guess what I'm trying, instead they release 20 variations of mediocre devices with 3 premium ones every year. Anyways, they originally locked people into TouchWiz, which was their remember when Android was different depending on what brand phone you got? Now they're all mostly the same.
Yeah.
Remember how Samsung's was wildly different?
Yeah.
Remember how it had its own messaging app, mail app, etc.? That's the bullshit that Apple pulls. They try to lock you into their things so that if you switch to another texting app, you don't have all of your shit.
And truthfully, I won't go to a lesser tier phone because I'm so spoiled with the features on the phone I have.
So how many of those features are things you actually need? Or
I
you
don't use any of them on a regular basis.
Right,
to be
but they're
honest
gimmicks
with
that you love.
But I have them. Oh, the parts that I love.
Yeah. So what features? I guess what I'm trying
camera
to say is,
mainly. And can we talk about that real quick too? I don't know if this is right to
let's
repair,
go ahead. Cameras,
bro. I feel like Samsung got the market on lock with the camera. I'm not a big iPhone camera fan.
So iPhone, what iPhone did well early was autofocus. iPhone had a camera
that don't have good autofocus.
Yeah, Samsung hasn't. So
whenever I'm doing video, it's like wah wah. It's what I'm saying, that pull in and out.
So Samsung has powerful cameras. They throw together powerful hardware with high end specs because they know that at this day and age, people are looking at the actual numbers. I don't care how little or how much you know about cameras. When you're looking at a phone these days, you are looking at resolution and megapixels and how many fucking cameras it has, because that is what everyone is contrasting.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, they have caught up and started putting in better cameras, but they're still, and their hardware is good. Their devices are still designed to be pretty rather than durable, rather than reliable. Which is the Apple bullshit. Like, it's aesthetics over function. They also, like I said, tried to lock people into, like, there was an agreement with Google and Samsung like 6 or 7 years ago that stopped this. But they were trying to lock people into their own ecosystem of apps, that's what I was talking about when I said they're the Apple of Android, and it's bullshit. But also, their devices are so fragile. Like, you've had good luck with that thing, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be thanks to that OtterBox.
Yeah, probably. Shout out to OtterBox. And whatever I do have a screen protector film.
And that makes a difference.
If it's glass or what. You know what my favorite screen protector was? And I can't find it anywhere. Maybe you can help me. There was like a gel protect.
Oh, Skinomi or whatever.
Bro.
I had it on Amazon a while ago.
I had my phone for like 5 years.
So I haven't actually used screen protectors in the past few years.
Yeah?
Gorilla Glass.
Are those a gimmick too?
What, screen
You're
protectors?
Tell me, yeah.
Not really. I mean, yes, if you like, so the kiosks at the mall are, but like that being said, are you able to put it on without bubbles? Because if not, it is worth whatever you're paying someone to put it on.
I mean, I'm pretty good at putting it on without the bubbles
because
I have OCD. So
then you're good. I've never put one of those things on straight in my life. It's half the reason I buy secondhand phones, which is something else for a whole other episode. But the secondhand market. You can buy. I've resold so many different things, and it is so great. But these companies also do their part to control that by creating eBay stores. Yeah. So they can. So like DJI, a drone.
Also, you have these companies also controlling or monopolizing.
So this is really behavior-wise
hand store too.
Yeah, this is more like predatory loans than like antitrust things.
I don't know about y'all over there, the app boys, Samsung. I have a problem with y'all. I'm about to come pick a bone with y'all. That's wild.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
I feel so skeevy, like, ugh.
And no one thinks about this.
Well, we got a lot more for you to make me feel even more skeevy, right? But right now, we got to take a quick break. You're watching Interviews. I'm Manny.
And I'm David Webb. This was great.
We will be right back.